seemingly everyone has weighed in on Caitlin Clark's time interview at this point, but still some perspectives worth sharing, especially when they come from someone who really did it all in their career, like Sue Bird, legendary WNBA player, legendary women's hooper, and now has her podcast with Megan Rapinoe, A Touch More. So Sue Bird did speak about Caitlin Clark and the privilege aspect of the conversation and said a few things. One, tried to unpack what Clark meant and sort of the dynamics around it, but specifically also stated bluntly at the beginning, her race doesn't put the ball in the hoop. And again, like that's the point that I can't believe so many people just glossed over. It's not as if because she's a white girl, Caitlin Clark is being gifted baskets. She's had to go out there and show and prove, and she has shown and proved, and nobody can stop her. If all these people who hated on her so much, or any of the defenders who wanted to shut her down and make an example, I mean, Dejanay Carrington did a great job of that in the first game, and that's the competitive fire I praise, right? She came out and said, I'm gonna show y'all. And she D'd up. That's how you shut down hype. But as far as Clark's abilities, it doesn't matter if she's black, white, or anything in between. It's easy for anybody to see. Here's what Bird said on the show about that, and I'll link the full thing in the description.
This is my take on it. Her race doesn't put the ball in the hoop. A lot of people have, oh, she's just a great basketball. It doesn't matter. I get that. Nobody's race puts the ball in the hoop. At the same time, she isn't apologizing. I don't read that remark and think she's apologizing for being white. What she's doing is acknowledging how our country is set up in terms of race, which I thought was wonderful. She says how she watched the WNBA, looks up to Maya Moore, like she knows what's up. And now this faction of her fan base, which we've discussed before, that is now disgusted with her acknowledging, is just showing they were never really here for basketball.
Oh my God, and a shocking turn of events.
Yeah. So like that just, which by the way, just proves that there are issues with race in this country. Mm-hmm. Like to me, that just proves it. And I think where I've landed is I'd almost want to just kind of pose some questions, right? It's not a challenge. It's just like pose some questions. If she are black, would that have changed how this all would have played out for her? Would it have been a different story? Would it have been covered differently? If when Dejanay Carrington poked her in the eye, if it was two black players involved? That's just, to me, the question that people need to be asking yourself. I think we get caught up in a lot of other, but that's really what's at play, because nobody is taking anything away from Caitlin as a basketball player. Absolutely not. I personally think she deserves to be Time Athlete of the Year. I think she earned that. Zero, and she says that. She's like, yeah, I've done enough to earn this. And I agree. And also is acknowledging her white privilege. And that is something that, you're...
Okay, so let me get to several things Sue Bird said here. First of all, let me recognize that Sue Bird is white and one of the greatest players of all time. So again, this idea that Caitlin Clark's whiteness vaulted her to the top doesn't make sense when put up to scrutiny and logic as many great white players as there have been in the WNBA, and this hasn't happened, right? Of course, race has been an issue in the country and is a factor in many different discussions. A couple things she said there that I want to, I mean, she asked the question, so let me answer it. She said, if Clark was black, would things have been different? And I think maybe some things would be different. I don't think she'd get the pushback if she were black. I don't think anyone would complain if Asia Wilson was on the cover of Time. That's one thing. The idea of these fans, Clark's fan base, one thing I don't think is appreciated enough, or, there's no 360 view on this. It's always the people who are racist in the name of Clark, and no one is talking about all the people that push back on Clark all the time, right? Like that, it's a 360 discussion. And those fans or whatever who have abandoned, again, they're not fans. We got to stop doing that. Everybody's got to stop doing that. Acting like these people, the MAGA bots, for lack of a more sophisticated way to put it, are fans. I went at one who had an American, it was like a bald eagle on an American flag, who was responding to me yesterday. That person, like these people, there are some, I'm sure, like a small fact, but these people who are stirring up shit online are not the fan base of Caitlin Clark. I don't understand why people keep thinking they are. And then if a black player did the same thing as Caitlin Clark, would they be as celebrated as Caitlin Clark? It's hard to tell. I do think there is an aspect of Clark being like America's sweetheart that led to people being overprotective of her. So I agree with Bird's sentiment in the sense of people wouldn't be losing their mind about every time Caitlin Clark got knocked to the floor or anything that happened in a basketball game if there wasn't this like protectiveness over America's sweetheart, the white girl who goes into the WNBA and is hit with this physical response from a lot of black players, right? But at the same time, it's not as if black athletes haven't become huge standout stars in the history of sports. Michael Jordan was the biggest star. No one pushed back because he was black. Would he have been a bigger star if he was white? I don't think it's possible for him to have been a bigger star. Same thing goes with Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods being black made him a bigger star because he went into a non-black and talk about a privileged ass sport or game. So that's just some of what I have to say about that. There was another thing Sue Bird said that I completely agree with, which you all know I completely agree with, and that is Hannah Hidalgo as the National Player of the Year right now.
So we both watched the Notre Dame UConn game, and I mean, it was a great game. I think we had a lot of big performances by some individuals. We'll get into that. Obviously, Notre Dame won. I think they showed a lot about who they are. They are a team that has two young guards. But and the reason why I bring the guards up specifically is I believe that a lot of times they're the ones that have more of an impact on a team's identity. It's not that post players don't. Obviously, they do too. But when you have guards like that, like Hannah Hidalgo, like Olivia Miles, their fingerprints are going to be all over that team.
Well,
and you're really
starting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're really starting to showcase that, especially after, their experience in the Cayman Islands. They've come back with a vengeance. You can tell they're extremely focused. Neil Ivy's got them rolling. And yeah, you can't really talk about this game without talking about Hannah. She balled the fuck out. 29 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists in front of some Notre Dame greats. You had Arike there, Skylar, Jewel, Marina, Dev Peters in the building. I'm sure there's others that I didn't even see. It was pretty dope to witness that. So yeah, you can't say enough about Hannah. If I had to put in an early vote, and I'm sure this is the clip that's going to go around, if I had to put in an early vote for Player of the Year, it's probably Hannah.
You heard it here first.
I mean, how can it not be? The numbers she's putting up, the ways in which she's helping her team win games, the big buckets she's getting. Can't say enough about her play.
So, I mean, I completely and 100% agree with Sue Bird's assessment there, but I've been trying to share as many perspectives as possible and give you my thoughts around each. And of course, when it comes from someone who's played the game, you can't simply ignore that, especially when they've played it at as high a level as Sue Bird did.